Hey, good to see you again. Tonight's story begins with an impossible absence, a world that seemed half dead, and the moment an ancient observatory discovered that darkness can be a form of camouflage. Let's step into it. Senior observer Vale Terrace watched the dark side of Earth pass beneath the Meridian Array for the 17th time. Again, there was nothing. No settlement glow, no thermal bloom, no atmospheric traffic, no patterned emissions from power grids, communication towers, orbital elevators, or industrial zones. The planet rotated slowly beneath the observatory's silver lattice, presenting one hemisphere to the star called Sol and hiding the other beneath an ocean of night. On the illuminated side, human civilization burned unmistakably. Vast coastal cities traced the continents in gold. Fusion plants shone through the atmosphere like buried suns. Aircraft, surface vehicles, weather stations, maritime platforms, and millions of orbital transmissions formed a dense web of activity. Yet beyond the Terminator line, where daylight ended, humanity appeared to end with it. Vale extended one of his 4 narrow hands toward the central display. "Increase sensitivity by 3 orders," he instructed. Junior analyst Saren Auth adjusted the gravimetric lenses. The Meridian Array's 12 observation rings rotated around one another, each ring wider than a small moon. Streams of exotic particles passed through Earth, through its oceans, through its crust, and through every structure upon it. The image remained empty. Saren's pale facial fronds tightened. "No detectable population centers," she reported. "No consistent heat islands, no civic electromagnetic patterns, no deep infrastructure pulses. There are scattered biological signatures, but they are weak and mobile." "Animals," Vale said. "Most likely." Vale stared at the black hemisphere. The Meridian Array had studied 847 inhabited worlds over 11,000 years. It had watched civilizations awaken, expand, stagnate, collapse, and rise again. It had mapped cities beneath alien oceans and settlements buried under 20 kilometers of ice. It had detected machine societies operating inside gas giants and fungal empires spreading through the crusts of wandering planets. It did not fail to find cities, especially not cities belonging to a species that had supposedly reached interstellar space. Vale's species, the Orinth, had built their entire scientific tradition upon a doctrine known as the principle of visible existence. It was older than their empire and more sacred than any religion they had abandoned. The principle held that all advanced life announced itself through waste. Heat could be hidden briefly. Radiation could be shielded imperfectly. Communications could be narrowed. Movement could be disguised. But civilization itself was an accumulation of leaks. Every thinking species transformed its environment, and every transformation left evidence. Population created heat. Industry created vibration. Energy created residue. Thought created signals. To exist at scale was to become visible. Every civilization in recorded history had obeyed that law, except, apparently, humanity. Vale ordered the observatory to begin a full planetary reconstruction. For 6 days, the Meridian Array measured Earth from every angle. It watched through clouds, oceans, mountains, and the planet's magnetic field. It compared daylight activity with darkness. It tracked the movement of every object larger than a grain of sand. It reconstructed atmospheric chemistry across 20 vertical layers and measured local variations in gravity, down to the displacement caused by individual cargo vessels. The conclusion remained unchanged. Nearly all measurable human civilization existed on the daylight side. When night moved westward across the continents, the cities disappeared. They did not dim gradually. They vanished with extraordinary precision. Heat islands cooled within minutes. Transmission density collapsed. Surface traffic became undetectable. Power grid harmonics ceased. Even large buildings seemed to fade from the array's penetrating scans, as though the structures themselves had been removed before darkness arrived. Then, when morning returned, the cities reappeared. Roads filled. Factories resumed. Billions of signals awakened. The same towers stood where no towers had been detected hours earlier. The Orinth observers began calling the phenomenon the nocturnal absence. Vale called it a warning. The Meridian Array had entered the Sol system under the authority of the Galactic Census Council, an institution responsible for deciding whether emerging species were ready for formal contact. Humanity had launched crewed faster-than-light vessels only 31 years earlier. They had reached 9 neighboring systems, established 4 permanent colonies, and placed scientific stations around dozens of lifeless worlds. By galactic standards, they were infants. The Census Council expected the survey to last 20 days. Instead, on the 23rd day, Vael received a transmission from Council Arbiter Jeshvar. The Arbiter's image appeared above the command dais, enormous and blue, his ceremonial shell engraved with the names of 300 admitted species. "Your reports have delayed the classification vote," Jesh said. "Explain why." Vael displayed the comparative scans. "Humanity's cities are present during local daylight and absent during local darkness," he said. "The effect follows the planetary terminator across every inhabited landmass. Our instruments detect no conventional concealment system." Jesh examined the data without visible concern. "A technical error. The Meridian Array has not produced an unexplained error in 2,700 years. Then the humans are managing their energy consumption. Buildings do not cease possessing mass at sunset, Arbiter." Jesh's sensory crest shifted slightly. "The Council has already received preliminary assessments from the Diplomatic Corps. Humanity is politically fragmented, biologically vulnerable, and technologically immature. Their vessels require visible drive plumes. Their colonies depend heavily upon Earth. Their defensive fleet numbers fewer than 600 armed ships. Those facts are accurate," Vael replied. "Then your anomaly does not alter the conclusion." Vael turned toward the image of Earth. "It alters mine." The Arbiter's crest flattened. "You are an observer, Vael Taris. You are not assigned to imagine threats." The transmission ended. Saren remained silent until the Arbiter's image vanished. "He will recommend provisional admission," she said. Vael folded his hands behind his back. "No. He will recommend controlled integration. Among the Orinth, controlled integration was a polite term for permanent dependency. Species deemed too weak to protect themselves were admitted to galactic society under the supervision of an established power. Their trade routes were licensed. Their military development was limited. Their technology was inspected. Their external diplomacy was filtered through a custodian state. The Orinth Empire had served as custodian to 29 civilizations. None had ever become independent." Saren looked again at the darkened Earth. "Do you believe the humans are concealing their cities from us? I believe we have not yet asked the correct question. What question should we ask?" Vael studied the black hemisphere where 10 billion human beings should have been visible. What else have they concealed? On Earth, Director Elena Marrow stood beneath the central dome of the International Astronomical Security Directorate and watched the alien observatory watching her planet. The Meridian Array appeared in the night sky as a faint geometric star, visible only through magnification. It hung beyond the orbit of Earth's moon, maintaining an exact position above the solar ecliptic. Around Elena, 140 analysts worked in silence. Their curved displays showed reconstructions of the array, intercepted energy patterns, probable sensor capabilities, and a countdown to the arrival of the Galactic Census delegation. Admiral Tomas Vael entered the dome carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You have been here 14 hours, he said. 13 and a half. That defense only works if the number is smaller." He placed 1 cup beside her terminal. Elena looked 46 because she was 46, a rarity among senior officials in an era when cellular treatments could erase decades. She kept the silver in her black hair and refused cosmetic correction for the scar along her jaw. Both had been earned during the evacuation of the Kepler Reach colony, and she considered removing them a form of historical vandalism. "Has Vael changed his scan pattern?" she asked. "Every 7 minutes. He is moving through non-standard frequencies now. Neutrino reflection, induced gravitational tomography, vacuum fluctuation analysis. He is persistent. He is frightened." Elena glanced at him. "The Orinth do not frighten easily." "No," Tomas said. "They frighten methodically." Earth's governments had known for 18 years that they were being observed. The first indication had been a lensing distortion near Saturn. The second had been a burst of particles from empty space. The third had been the discovery of a probe embedded beneath the ice of a minor moon, its systems so sophisticated that human engineers had needed 4 years merely to confirm that it was artificial. Humanity had not destroyed the probe. It had fed it a story. The visible Earth presented to the galaxy was busy, divided, energetic, and young. Its nations argued publicly. Its corporations competed. Its first starships were slow and inefficient. Its orbital defenses were easy to count. Its military communications used encryption that Orinth systems could eventually break. All of it was real. None of it was complete. Tomas watched new scans wash across the tactical display. "He has almost reached Layer 9, he said. Elena checked the energy readings. Not almost. He touched it 17 minutes ago. Did it hold? Apparently, Tomas breathed out slowly. The Noctis Protocol had been designed before humanity knew the name of any alien species. Its purpose was simple: ensure that Earth could not be understood from observation alone. During daylight, cities functioned openly. During darkness, they entered shadow mode. Exterior lighting shifted to wavelengths absorbed by atmospheric compounds. Heat was redirected downward through thermal routes extending kilometers into the crust. Communications moved through quantum-locked subterranean relays. Traffic systems guided vehicles without radar, visible light, or continuous network exchange. Buildings altered their electromagnetic signatures. High-density districts dispersed their surface power draw across underground reservoirs. Most importantly, every major urban center was connected to a deeper structure. Human civilization did not end at street level. It descended. The first underground survival chambers had been constructed during the climate emergencies of the 22nd century. Over the following 180 years, those chambers had grown into buried transit networks, manufacturing vaults, medical reservoirs, seed archives, command centers, and autonomous energy systems. Humanity called them roots. There were 12,000 of them beneath Earth. The smallest could shelter 40,000 people. The largest extended beneath entire mountain ranges. Together, they could sustain the planet's population for 6 years without sunlight, surface agriculture, orbital supply, or external communication. The Orinth had found none of them. Tomas lowered his voice. The delegation arrives in 4 days. The Council intends to offer custodianship. They intend to demand custodianship. And if we refuse? Elena looked toward the projected image of the Meridian Array. Then we find out whether Vale Taris is merely curious or wise. Aboard the array, Vale descended into the restricted cognition chamber. The room contained no displays. Its walls were made from black mineral plates recovered from the remains of the first Orinth homeworld. At the center floated an artificial mind called the Witness, a sphere of compressed computation older than the present empire. The Witness had analyzed civilizations for 6,400 years. It greeted Vale by opening a line of white light across its surface. "You have come without authorization," it said. "I require an independent model of Earth. You already possess 12 models. All 12 failed during planetary darkness." The Witness rotated. "Failure is information. Then interpret it." Vale transmitted the complete survey record. The artificial mind remained silent for 9 minutes, an eternity for a system capable of simulating planetary economies in seconds. When it answered, its voice was quieter. "The data cannot be explained by passive concealment. What alternatives remain? Active deception. By whom? The planet." Vale's facial fronds lifted. "Clarify." The Witness projected a model of Earth. Threads of light spread across the continents, then descended beneath them. "Your scans assume that infrastructure is static," the Witness said. "You search for structures where structures were previously observed. You compare day against night and interpret missing signatures as absence. But if the signatures are being replaced with manufactured environmental noise, then the question is not where the cities have gone." Vale understood before it finished. "The question is what the cities become." During darkness, the Witness continued, the human urban regions imitate geology, weather, oceans, forests, and biological movement. Their waste does not disappear. It is shaped into patterns your instruments classify as natural. Vale stood motionless. That would require every power station, vehicle, building, communication system, and industrial process to operate as part of a single coordinated concealment network. Correct. The humans possess no unified planetary government. Political unity is not required for technical interoperability. Their public systems appear incompatible. Appearances are the subject of this investigation. The sphere darkened for a moment. There is another possibility. Vale waited. The visible cities may be the smallest component of human civilization. For the first time in his long career, Vale felt the primitive tightening of fear around his organs. Show me. The witness magnified the night side of Earth and highlighted millions of tiny inconsistencies. A cold patch beneath a desert, a microscopic gravitational shift below an ocean trench, a seismic echo arriving a fraction too early beneath a northern plain, a mountain releasing less geothermal energy than its composition should allow. Individually, each anomaly was meaningless. Together, they formed outlines, not of cities, of doors. Vale returned to the command deck as the first ships of the Galactic Census delegation entered the Sol system. There were 90 vessels in total. 30 were diplomatic, 20 carried scientific teams. 10 transported trade representatives. The remaining 30 belonged to the Orinth custodial fleet. The fleet was not officially an invasion force. Its warships still outmassed humanity's entire declared navy. At its center traveled the Dominion of Order, a 7-kilometer command vessel under Fleet Admiral Cor Valen. The admiral was a celebrated architect of controlled integration. He had supervised the accession of 4 developing species and had never lost a ship. Vale opened a private channel before the fleet reached Mars. "Admiral, you must delay the custodial declaration." Cor's broad image appeared above the command dais. Unlike Vale, he wore the heavy gold mantle of imperial authority. On what basis? The human survey is incomplete. All surveys are incomplete. This one may be intentionally so. Cor's lower jaw plates moved in the Orinth equivalent of amusement. You believe the primitives have deceived the Meridian Array. I believe they built their civilization around the expectation of being observed. Then they are cautious. Caution does not equal strength. Vale transmitted the witness analysis. The admiral reviewed only the first sections: subsurface cavities, thermal redirection, disguised communications. None of this changes their military capacity. We do not know their military capacity. We have counted their ships. We have counted what they allowed us to count. Cor's amusement vanished. Careful, observer. You are approaching disobedience. Admiral, Earth's dark side contains no visible cities, because the humans are hiding an entire planetary system beneath the absence. We should establish dialogue before issuing demands. That is what the declaration is for. A declaration is not dialogue. Cor leaned closer to his transmitter. The Empire has protected weaker species for 3,000 years. The humans are unstable, divided, and newly interstellar. They will accept guidance because the alternative is isolation. And if they decline, then they will be shown the cost of immaturity. The channel closed. Saren turned from her station. Earth has transmitted landing coordinates for the Council delegation. Where? A city called Geneva. Vale looked at the planet. Night was falling across the designated region. The city was already disappearing. By the time the Orinth diplomatic shuttles entered Earth's atmosphere, Geneva no longer existed on their instruments. The shuttles descended through clouds toward what appeared to be an uninhabited lakeshore. Their navigation systems insisted that the coordinates were correct, but thermal sensors showed forest, water, exposed stone, and scattered animal life. Arbiter Jesh Var stood inside the lead shuttle, surrounded by 12 council delegates. "Pilot, confirm position," he ordered. "Coordinates confirmed." "Then where is the city?" The pilot had no answer. The shuttle dropped below 1,000 meters. Nothing changed. No lights appeared beneath them. No towers rose from the darkness. No landing beacons activated. The ground remained a black basin between the mountains. Several delegates began speaking at once. Jesh silenced them. "Activate visual enhancement." The forward windows brightened artificially. Geneva appeared. It had been beneath them the entire time. Buildings filled the landscape from horizon to horizon, their outlines visible only after the shuttle's systems amplified a narrow range of reflected starlight. Streets carried silent vehicles with no headlights. Windows appeared black despite the presence of people behind them. The lake reflected the sky so perfectly that it seemed untouched. The city was not dark because it lacked power. It was dark because it controlled every photon. A landing platform opened on the roof of a government complex. Until it moved, the platform had appeared to be part of the building's stone surface. The shuttles touched down. Elena Marrow waited beside Ambassador Darius Chen and 12 members of Earth's Contact Assembly. Jesh stepped onto the platform. "Director Marrow," he said, "your city is unusually difficult to detect." "Only at night," Elena replied. "Why?" "Because night is useful." Jesh looked across the invisible metropolis. "Your species expends remarkable effort to conceal civilian infrastructure. We conceal what should not be available to strangers. We are not strangers. We represent the Galactic Census Council. You arrived uninvited with 30 warships." The Arbiter's crest stiffened. "The warships are present to ensure stability during the transition." "What transition?" Jesh gestured toward an aide, who produced a luminous document. "Humanity has been designated a developing civilization under Orinth custodial supervision. Your interstellar expansion will be recognized, but certain activities will require Council approval. Military construction beyond your home system will be restricted. Trade will proceed through licensed channels. Long-range exploration will be suspended pending cultural review." Darius Chen accepted the document, read the first page, and returned it. "No," he said. The single word moved through the Orinth delegation like a pressure wave. Jesh blinked. Perhaps the translation system failed. "It did not," Darius replied. "Humanity declines custodial supervision. The designation is not optional. Then it is not an offer." Elena watched the Arbiter's posture change. His rehearsed patience hardened into institutional certainty. "Director Marrow," Jesh said, "your species possesses fewer than 600 military vessels. You occupy only 5 inhabited systems. Your total extrasolar population is below 20 million. The Orinth Empire spans 847 systems and maintains a fleet of 90,000 ships. Refusal would be irrational." Elena stepped closer. "You have observed Earth for 18 years. Jesh hesitated. "Our methods are classified. You placed your first probe beneath the ice of Nereid. You moved the Meridian Array into position 23 days ago. You have scanned our atmosphere, cities, oceans, communications, fleets, and colonies." The delegates exchanged uneasy glances. Elena continued. "After all that observation, you believe you know exactly what humanity possesses. We know enough. No arbiter. You know what we turn on for you." High above Earth, Admiral Cor Valen received a priority transmission from Geneva. "The humans have rejected the declaration," Jesh reported. Cor stood at the center of the Dominion of Order's command chamber. Around him, officers monitored the 30 warships distributed across high orbit. Earth's visible defensive fleet remained near the Moon, maintaining formation around 214 armed vessels. Cor felt almost disappointed. "Issue the secondary terms," he said. "They have rejected those in advance. Then demonstrate our control of their orbital environment." The Arbiter's crest lowered. A military demonstration may damage negotiations. "The negotiations are complete." Cor ended the channel and turned to Weapons Commander Tal Rune. "Select one human defense platform. Disable it without casualties." Tal chose an unmanned sensor station above the Southern Ocean. The Orinth cruiser Steadfast Vector fired a narrow gravitic pulse. The human station went dark. On Earth, every military command center received the same message. The Orinth had fired. Admiral Tomas Vale stood inside the underground command vault known as Route Prime, 2 kilometers beneath the Atlantic seabed. The vault was enormous enough to contain a city. Thousands of personnel moved through concentric galleries surrounding a central shaft. Fusion reservoirs glowed behind transparent armor. Rail systems carried crews and equipment toward sealed launch chambers. A tactical sphere showed the planet above them. Elena appeared through a secure channel from Geneva. "No casualties," she said. "They targeted an unmanned platform deliberately." "A warning shot," Tomas replied. "Yes." He looked toward the officers around him. "They believe restraint makes it acceptable." Elena's expression carried no anger. "Vialtaris? He has transmitted 3 requests for delay to his admiral. Then give him 30 seconds." Tomas opened a channel to the Meridian Array. Vale answered immediately. "Admiral Vale, your station was disabled without intent to harm. I am attempting to prevent further escalation." "Then assist us," Tomas said. Tell Corvalin to withdraw his fleet beyond Mars. He will not. Tell him again. Vale's facial fronds trembled. What happens in 30 seconds? Earth corrects the misunderstanding. Tomas closed the channel. On the Dominion of Order, Kor received Vale's final warning and dismissed it. The human admiral is bluffing, he said. Vale's voice arrived from the observatory. He is not. Kor turned away from the communication display. The dark side of Earth rotated beneath the fleet. Across North America, the sun had set 2 hours earlier. South America lay beneath evening. Western Europe had entered full darkness. Half of Africa was unlit. The Atlantic was a black curve. To Orinth sensors, those regions contained no civilization. Then the first city turned on. It was not visible light. A pulse rose from beneath the eastern coast of North America, shaped so precisely that every Orinth vessel detected it at once. For a fraction of a second, the city of New York appeared in full technical detail. Not merely its surface. Everything beneath it. The towers were only the tips. Below the streets, spread 180 levels of infrastructure, descending through reinforced chambers, transit cylinders, energy reservoirs, manufacturing complexes, habitation vaults, hospitals, water systems, and defensive installations. Vast structures reached outward beneath the ocean floor. Deep launch silos opened like mechanical flowers. Magnetic rails aligned toward the sky. The pulse vanished. Another city turned on. Chicago revealed its roots beneath the continent, a buried web extending hundreds of kilometers. Then Toronto, then Mexico City, then Sao Paulo, then Buenos Aires. Each city announced itself with a single controlled pulse, exposing for one instant what 18 years of Orinth observation had missed. Across the Atlantic, London turned on beneath the darkness. Paris followed, Madrid, Lagos, Cairo, Cape Town. The pulses spread eastward with the night, city after city, continent after continent. They did not light the planet, they mapped it. On the Dominion of Order, officers stared as the empty hemisphere filled with structures. Tal Ruin's voice became unsteady. Admiral, detecting subterranean energy reserves. Quantity, unable to calculate. The systems are distributed. Defensive platforms, thousands. Fleet Admiral Kor moved toward the tactical display. The dark hemisphere of Earth was no longer dark. It had become a machine. Mountain ranges opened concealed apertures. Ocean trenches released silent vessels. Artificial caverns beneath deserts activated fusion cores that had remained cold during every previous scan. Polar ice shifted aside to expose orbital launch rings. Forest floors separated along hidden seams. The largest signals came from below the cities. Not weapons at first, ships. Human vessels rose vertically through shafts that extended from the buried roots to the surface. They emerged without chemical fire, lifted by field systems the Orinth had not known humanity possessed, and accelerated into the atmosphere. Hundreds became thousands. Thousands became tens of thousands. Most were not warships. Cargo carriers, hospital vessels, evacuation transports, engineering platforms, mobile habitats, and industrial craft climbed together. Yet among them traveled darker shapes built around armored spines and silent drive cores. Tomas Vale's voice reached every Orinth ship. Fleet Admiral Corvalin, the city you attempted to intimidate is one of 12,000 hardened nodes. The station you disabled was obsolete and unmanned. The fleet you counted is our patrol force. Kor's officers looked toward him. He forced his voice to remain calm. How many ships are launching? Tal Ruin read the changing numbers. 8,000. The number rose. 11,000. Again. 17,000. The tactical system struggled to separate vessels from decoys, drones, atmospheric craft, and orbital infrastructure. Vale appeared on the main display. Admiral, order withdrawal. Kor stared at him. You knew. I suspected. You allowed me to proceed. I warned you repeatedly. Another series of pulses crossed Earth's night side. This time, the cities activated their defensive geometry. Energy moved between them through the crust. Each urban route became a node in a planetary lattice. Power crossed oceans without visible conduits. Magnetic fields aligned above the continents. The moon responded, opening structures beneath the gray dust that no Orinth survey had detected. For one terrible moment, Earth and its moon became parts of the same system. The planet was not merely defended by cities. The cities were the defense. Kor's command display identified 30,000 independent targeting solutions converging upon his fleet. None fired. Tomas continued. Your ships are presently within range of 4,200 surface emitters, 900 lunar platforms, and 6,000 autonomous orbital vehicles. We have not activated our deep system assets. We have not recalled the outer colonies. We have not initiated wartime production. Kor looked at the warships surrounding him. Every one had been marked. Not approximately. Precisely. The dominion of Order's engines, weapons, shield projectors, communication arrays, and command chamber appeared as separate targets. The human system knew where every critical component was located. Talruin whispered that the humans could disable the entire fleet before the Orinth completed a firing cycle. Kor heard him. So did everyone else. On the Meridian Array, Saren watched Earth's cities continue turning on as darkness moved around the globe. The observatory's systems flooded with data. The nocturnal absence was gone. In its place stood the largest deliberately concealed planetary network ever recorded. Vale felt no triumph, only awe. Humanity had not hidden its civilization because it was weak. It had hidden because it understood the danger of being fully measured. The principle of visible existence had survived 11,000 years because every species before humanity had treated detection as an unavoidable consequence of advancement. Humans had approached the problem differently. They had not asked how to eliminate waste. They had asked what story the waste should tell. Heat became geology. Vibration became weather. Communication became noise. Population became wilderness. Cities became absence. And beneath that absence, humanity had prepared. Vale opened a channel to Elena Marrow. "Director," he said, "the Meridian Array recognizes that its survey was incomplete." Elena stood on the dark rooftop in Geneva. Above her, new human vessels crossed the stars. Incomplete is a generous word. I attempted to prevent this escalation. We know. Your systems intercepted my transmissions. We intercept most things near Earth. Vale accepted the correction. Will humanity fire? That depends on Admiral Kor. Vale turned toward the image of the Orinth commander. Kor stood amid the silence of his bridge, surrounded by officers who had seen certainty collapse in less than 4 minutes. The Admiral's doctrine offered only 2 paths: dominance or humiliation. He had never been taught how to choose wisdom. Vale addressed him through an open fleet channel. "Withdraw, Admiral." Kor's jaw plates tightened. "The Empire does not retreat from developing species." "Then stop calling them developing." The words hung across 90 Orinth vessels. On Earth, another wave of cities turned on as night reached Asia. Istanbul revealed a defensive network beneath 2 continents. Mumbai activated subterranean reservoirs larger than Orinth naval bases. Jakarta transmitted from structures beneath the sea. Beijing, Seoul, Manila, Perth, and thousands of smaller settlements joined the lattice. Their combined signal formed an image around the planet. Not a weapon diagram, a boundary. Tomas Vale spoke again. "You entered our system peacefully, and you may leave peacefully. Withdraw your warships beyond Mars. The diplomatic delegation may remain if its authority is recognized as equal to ours." Kor said nothing. Tomas waited. The human weapons remained silent. That silence became heavier than any barrage. The Orinth Admiral finally understood what the humans were demonstrating. Not only capability, control. They could have hidden forever. They could have attacked without revealing the planetary network. They could have destroyed the custodial fleet and blamed an unknown defense system. Instead, they had turned on the cities. They had exposed their greatest secret to avoid killing those who threatened them. Kor looked toward Talruin. "Order the fleet beyond Mars," he said. The weapons commander hesitated, as though unsure he had heard correctly. "All vessels?" "All vessels." Across Earth, the targeting locks disappeared one by one. The human ships did not pursue. They formed a vast sphere around their world, their engines glowing softly against the dark. In Geneva, Arbiter Jesh watched the Orinth fleet withdraw on a portable display. His ceremonial shell suddenly seemed very heavy. Darius Chen stood beside him. "The custodial declaration is withdrawn," Jesh said. "It was never accepted." The Arbiter studied the human ambassador. Why did your species build all of this before encountering a confirmed alien civilization? Darius looked across the city. Geneva remained nearly invisible, though millions of people moved within it. Because we encountered uncertainty long before we encountered you. That answer will be considered evasive. It is the most honest answer you will receive tonight. Elena joined them. Human history had taught us that safety based upon the goodwill of strangers is temporary, she said. But it also taught us that fear can become its own kind of prison. The Noctis Protocol was built to give us a choice. What choice? Whether first contact ended in surrender, war, or conversation. Jesh looked toward the stars. And what do you choose? Conversation. The Galactic Census Council reconvened 40 days later. For the first time in its history, the Meridian Array's findings were presented not as a measurement but as a confession. Vale Terrace stood before representatives of 300 species and explained how the observatory had failed. He showed them the daylight cities. He showed them the empty night. Then he showed them the moment the cities turned on. The chamber remained silent as Earth revealed its hidden roots across the darkness. Delegates watched mountains open, oceans release ships, and underground networks awaken beneath every continent. They listened to the human warning and saw the Orinth fleet withdraw. Vale ended his testimony with a recommendation. Humanity should not be admitted as a dependent civilization, he said, nor should it be classified according to existing developmental scales. The scales assume that visible expansion reflects total capability. Earth has disproven that assumption. Arbiter Jesh rose. What classification do you propose? Vale looked toward the human delegation. Equal. The vote passed with 241 approvals. The Orinth Empire abstained. 3 years later, Earth opened the first of its hidden routes to foreign visitors. It was not a fortress, it was a refuge. Delegates descended beneath a mountain expecting weapons and found seed vaults containing the genetic heritage of 900,000 species. They found libraries engraved in materials designed to survive 1,000,000 years. They found medical chambers, water reservoirs, schools, gardens, and habitation halls large enough to shelter entire nations. There were weapons, but the weapons occupied less space than the hospitals. Vale Terrace visited Root Prime during the 5th year of human membership in the Council. Elena Marrow guided him through its central gallery, where children played beneath an artificial sky. Your admiral believed concealment proved hostile intent, Vale said. Many humans believed the same about your observatory. Were they wrong? Elena considered the question. Not completely. They stopped beside a window overlooking the enormous Atlantic launch chamber. Civilian ships moved below, carrying engineers, scientists, and settlers toward distant systems. Vale watched them. Why reveal the routes now? Because secrecy protected us when we were alone, Elena replied. Trust protects us differently, and if that trust fails, the lights above them dimmed. For an instant, the vast chamber disappeared from every Orinth instrument Vale carried. Then it returned. Elena smiled. We remember how to turn them off. In the centuries that followed, the night side of Earth became a symbol across the galaxy. Young species learned not to measure civilization only by what it displayed. Old empires learned that observation was not the same as understanding. The Orinth revised the principle of visible existence for the first time in 11,000 years. A final line was added beneath its ancient text. All advanced life creates evidence, but some life chooses the evidence you are permitted to see. Earth continued to shine by day. At night, its cities still vanished when they wished. Not from fear, not from shame. Not because humanity wanted the galaxy to believe the darkness was empty. The lights went out to preserve an old promise between the living world above and the hidden world below. Earth would welcome the stars. Earth would speak before it fired. Earth would offer friendship before suspicion. But no observatory, empire, or fleet would ever again mistake humanity's silence for absence. Because beneath the darkened continents, 10 billion people slept above cities that could awaken in a heartbeat. And beyond them, the night was no longer something humanity feared. It was something humanity had taught to stand guard.